Whitney, a 30-year-old interior designer, saves her parents' house with $60,000 of her own money and years of work. Her parents later betray her, giving the house to her failed banker brother, Colt. Whitney discovers they forged her signature to take another $60,000 loan in her name. With her lawyer friend, she gathers evidence, removes all her belongings, sues her family for fraud and identity theft, wins the case. The house gets sold, the family loses everything, and Whitney rebuilds her life independently. Snow was falling outside our Missoula home, soft and lazy, dusting the porch I had sanded and stained last summer. Inside, the dining room glowed warm. Candles flickered. Mashed potatoes steamed. Mom fussed with napkins, humming the same tune she used when she wanted everything perfect. Dad cut his steak like he was sawing through a grudge. And I, Whitney Neal, the reliable daughter, the fixer, the dream patcher, was laughing about a client who wanted gold foil wallpaper in her bathroom. Then the room lost its air. Dad's glass hit the table so hard gravy splashed. His eyes, steel and irritated, locked on mine. "You have 48 hours to move out," he said. No preamble. No emotion. A sentence dropped like a verdict. Fork halfway to my mouth, breath stuck in my chest, I stared. "What?" He leaned back, pride stretching across his shoulders like armor. "Colt's taking over the house. It's time you moved on." The words didn't land at first. They hovered, unreal, like hearing your name announced in a dream. Mom's hands shook as she adjusted the salt shaker, refusing to meet my eyes. Colt. The disappearing act. The prodigal son with nothing to show but excuses and a scuffed suitcase of failed promises. I'd painted these walls, fixed this roof, saved this house. He hadn't set foot here in years unless it was for a holiday photo and a free meal. My throat burned. I paid the loans. I kept this house afloat. You're just handing it to him. Dad blinked slow, like the decision bored him. Family legacy matters. He'll build something here. I almost laughed. Legacy? Colt couldn't build a chair out of a cardboard box and hope. But I didn't argue. That was the part that stunned me most. I just stood. Quiet. Cold. Heart pounding like a warning siren. Mom whispered, "It'll be better this way," but her voice trembled like she already regretted every sound. I felt the room tilt. Candles flickered against the chandelier I chose. My pale blue walls watched silently, like they already knew they wouldn't belong to me much longer. My voice came out soft, steady. "Okay." I pushed my chair in, my hand barely shaking. Their relief was instant, smug almost. They thought I'd accepted it. They thought I'd leave quietly. They forgot who I am. Outside, the snow kept falling, soft and relentless. I walked to my room, past the sofa I bought, past the fresh baseboards I cut by hand, past the home I rebuilt piece by piece. 48 hours. They believed I would vanish like my sacrifices never existed. But betrayal has a sound. It's quiet, sharp, final. And in that silence, I made my decision. They weren't taking anything from me. I would take back everything instead. Woke up to frost on the window and betrayal still sitting heavy in my chest like unspoken words. Missoula mornings always smelled like pine and cold river air, but today the air felt sharper, like it was reminding me to breathe and not break. I stared at the ceiling I painted myself. A calming pale blue, meant to hold us together through storms. Funny, it was watching me prepare for war instead. I slid out of bed, my bare feet touching hardwood floors I refinished last winter. Not just boards. Hours of sanding. Nights with podcasts and sore hands. Memories sealed into every inch. And now they wanted to hand it to Colt like a free prize in a cereal box. Coffee brewed. My phone buzzed. "Lindsay, you sound like you swallowed a cactus," she said the moment I answered. I told her everything. The dinner. The ultimatum. The betrayal so thick it still coated my tongue. There was a pause. Long, calculating, lawyer brain spinning. "Whit," she said quietly, "no parent just gives away a house unless there's money tied up in it." That sentence cracked something open. Money. Debt. Secrets. I ended the call, opened my laptop, and went hunting through my inbox. Receipts. Bank confirmations. Payment plans. My heartbeat synced with the scrolling. Then something clicked in my memory. Finn. The banker I designed that lobby for. Favor owed. I dialed. Explained fast. His voice shifted when I asked the question. Whitney, hang on. Let me check. Minutes felt like hours. Then the phone buzzed again. His tone was careful. Dangerous. There's a loan in your name. Home equity. 60,000. 6 months ago. Silence. Like the world swallowed sound. I didn't take out a loan, I whispered. I know, he said. And the signature? It's not yours. My knees nearly buckled. My parents didn't just betray me emotionally. They forged me financially. Used my name like a tool. A shield. A sacrifice. I opened the emailed file. My name sat there bold and black. My signature, almost. A pretend version. A mask of loyalty used against me. My hands were shaking now. Not in fear. In rage. Betrayal doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it shows up wearing your handwriting. I dug through drawers, filing boxes, closets. Receipts, photos of renovations, bank statements. I moved like someone searching for oxygen underwater. Attic boxes next. The air smelled like dust and old Christmas wrap. Paper crackled under my fingers until I found it. A folder with the same loan copy, a notice about late payments, and dates matching the week Colt slunk back into town pretending ambition. That was it. The blueprint to their betrayal. They hadn't just chosen him. They'd built a future on my name, expecting me to stand quietly and applaud. I sat there on that cold attic floor, papers spread like battlefield plans, and whispered one promise to myself. They wanted to treat me like I didn't matter. I would make sure the world remembered that I did. Forgiveness used to be my reflex. That childish instinct to believe family always circles back to love. But paperwork doesn't lie, and betrayal signed in ink cuts deeper than any argument. By noon, I stood in the living room, my notepad filling with every item I bought over the years. Each piece a breadcrumb trail of love they mistook for obligation. Sofa, curtains, washer, TV, lamps, rugs. Every chosen color, every screw drilled, every paycheck stretched. Not theirs. Mine. The movers arrived right on time. A thumping truck, heavy boots on snow-salted steps. 3 men in navy uniforms looked at me like they already sensed something personal brewing. What are we moving? One asked. My life, I said simply. Piece by piece. As they carried furniture out, the house groaned like memories were being peeled off the walls. It should have hurt. But instead I felt lighter with every thud on the truck ramp. Diane from across the street poked her head in. She held a plate of cookies like it was armor and truth in one place. You deserve better than this, she murmured. There it was. Validation. Real and sharp and warm. After she left, the silence rolled back in, thick and judgment-soaked. Then the door flew open. Colt. Hair slicked like he still believed he lived in Manhattan, not under Mom and Dad's shadow. Tie loose, anger loud. What the hell happened to the furniture? He snapped. I didn't flinch. I took what I bought. He looked around like he'd lost a treasure map. You can't just strip the house. Dad said this place is mine. I pulled the forged loan from my bag. Held it up like a mirror. Oh? Then explain why you needed my credit to finance your failures. The color drained from his face before arrogance rushed back to mask it. You're being dramatic. We did what we had to do. No, I said softly, you did what you thought you could get away with. Right then, Henry walked in. Quiet strength rolled off him, flannel and wisdom. You good here? He asked, steady eyes on me. I nodded. Colt sneered. Mind your business. Henry didn't blink. Decency is my business. For a moment, nobody breathed. Then Colt's phone rang. Dad. He ranted. Complained. Blamed. Threatened. The echo of generational entitlement. And I stood in a gray, empty room and realized something fierce. They had never expected me to fight. They mistook kindness for weakness. And that miscalculation was about to cost them everything. Colt shoved past Henry, storming out, voice sharp. This isn't over. He was wrong. It was over. Not because they wanted it, but because I chose to end it. Tonight, I wouldn't cry. Tonight, I would prepare. They forged my signature. Tomorrow, I would sign my freedom. Lindsay spread legal pads across her kitchen table like a general before war. Her laptop glowed. Printer hummed. My evidence laid out like bones of the truth. Identity theft. Fraud. Misuse of financial documents. We file all of it, she said, voice sharp enough to cut marble. Her certainty steadied me. I wasn't the girl begging for approval anymore. I was the woman who had receipts. We drafted timelines, attached screenshots, labeled folders. Diane's affidavit. Bank emails. Payment records for repairs. The house wasn't just shelter, it was proof of my devotion and their exploitation. But building a case wasn't the hardest part. Letting go was. Every memory twisted with bitterness now. Mom braiding my hair before school. Dad cheering at my college portfolio review. Sunday pancakes. Movie nights. Little things. Good things. How did love mutate into entitlement so quietly? I remembered being 10, saving my allowance for weeks to buy Mom a ceramic bird she admired in a shop window. When I gave it to her, she smiled soft and sweet and said, "You have such a generous heart." Some days I wish I didn't. Generosity without boundaries becomes sacrifice. Sacrifice without recognition becomes resentment. They taught me family meant giving. They forgot that family also means protecting. The movers texted, delivery complete. My sofa sat in my new apartment, sunlight touching its edges like blessing. My washing machine hummed like a quiet rebellion. I sipped tea. Lindsay printed the last page. You ready for this? Most people ask before they set your life on fire. Lawyers ask after the match is lit. Yes, I said. And I meant it. We signed. Not shaky-handed resignation. Confident. Steady. A woman reclaiming her name. Morning court filing. Afternoon silence. Evening exhaustion. That night, alone in my apartment amid towers of bubble-wrapped belongings, I sat on the floor and cried for the family I wished I had, not the one I got. Healing isn't clean. It stains. But beneath the ache, something bloomed. Not victory. Not spite. Just peace. The space grief leaves when it finishes burning. I woke to snowflakes tapping the window like tiny knocks. As if the world whispered, "You survived the fire, now become the warmth." Court date came faster than expected. Judge's bench. Fluorescent lights. My parents sat stone-faced. Colt couldn't hold eye contact. Their lawyer bluffed weakness as confidence. Misunderstanding. Family dispute. No malicious intent. My evidence laughed in his face. When the judge spoke, time froze. Loan voided. Credit restored. Damages awarded. Property to be liquidated to satisfy debt. My family's faces fell in synchronized collapse. Not anger in their eyes. Shock. They truly never thought I'd fight. Outside the courthouse, wind stung my cheeks. Lindsay squeezed my hand. You did it. I didn't smile. I exhaled. Sometimes winning doesn't feel like victory. Sometimes it feels like release. The chapter didn't close that day, but it started to heal. There's a strange quiet that follows justice. Not peace. Not joy. Just stillness, like the universe pausing to see what you'll do with your freedom. My family's house sold at auction. Bank satisfied. Case closed. And then my phone began to ring. Mom first. Her voice cracked like ice under weight. How could you do this? We're your family. Dad next, thick with indignation. You ruined us. We gave you everything. I stared at the screen. Their version of reality screamed louder than truth ever had. They didn't see betrayal. They saw disobedience. I didn't answer. That silence was my first boundary. Colt called from a new number, desperation dripping through each syllable. You think you're better now? You think winning makes you right? But I had receipts. I had reality. I had myself. And I rejected their noise. Blocking them wasn't cruelty. It was survival. Days passed. Weeks slipped forward. Their downfall echoed through Missoula like a cautionary tale. From a house filled with warmth to a small apartment with peeling wallpaper and secondhand appliances. Reputation shattered like dropped china. People talked. Not out of malice, but shock. Betrayal always travels fast in small towns. I didn't revel in it. Grief and justice can coexist. And both lived inside me. Some nights, I sat by my window, watching headlights smear across the street, wondering if they regretted it. Not losing the house. Losing me. Maybe that was the point they never understood. You don't lose good people spontaneously. You lose them drip by drip, choice by choice, betrayal by betrayal. And then one day, they're gone. The true climax wasn't the judge's gavel. It was the moment I understood something painfully real. Family isn't DNA. Family is who protects your name, not weaponizes it. I was done bleeding for relationships that fed on sacrifice. One morning, I packed a small bag, grabbed coffee, and drove along the Clark Fork River. Water moved slow and strong, carving its path through rock and earth unwavering. That's strength. Not loud. Unapologetic. A couple nearby skipped stones. Their laughter carried on the wind. Life continued. Gentle, ordinary, beautiful. And I realized something. I hadn't just won a case. I reclaimed the right to outgrow the people who refused to grow with me. I was no longer the daughter patching holes in everyone else's walls. I was the woman building her own foundation. Brick by brick. Breath by breath. Freedom didn't feel like revenge. It felt like oxygen. Spring arrived quiet in Missoula, like forgiveness sneaking back into the world without asking permission. My new apartment filled slowly. Not rushed. Not desperate. Each item placed with intention, not obligation. Navy curtains swayed like calm oceans. My gray sofa faced a window, morning light pouring over it like grace. The washing machine hummed in the closet, steady and reliable. Funny that a simple appliance could feel like victory, but it did. It was proof that I kept what was mine, not through force, but through truth. Work blossomed too. I joined a boutique design firm downtown. Exposed brick, plants thriving in sunbeams, clients who appreciated my eye. I built spaces that held warmth and safety for others, now understanding what those words truly meant. My coworkers didn't know my story. They didn't need to. I wasn't carrying it like a shield anymore. Healing doesn't erase scars. It just teaches you to wear them without shame. Some evenings, I'd walk through Cara's Park and breathe in river air. I'd see families laughing and it didn't sting. It reminded me that belonging exists, just not everywhere. The truth was no longer heavy. It was light, airy, free. Every so often, I'd hear whispers about my parents and Colt. Struggling. Pride stripped down to bone. People said karma. I didn't respond. Karma isn't revenge. It's education. One afternoon, Diane dropped by the office with a coffee and one of those smiles only people who witnessed your battles can give. "You look happy," she said. I did. Not loud happy. Not glitter happy. Quiet happy. The kind that settles in your bones when you finally give yourself permission to choose peace over people-pleasing. Later, alone in my apartment, I lit a candle and opened my sketchbook. I drew a house. Not the one I lost. A new one. Sunlight in the windows. Curtains billowing. A welcome mat that said, simply, home. Not a place. A choice. I thought of the little girl who bought a ceramic bird with her allowance because she wanted her mother to smile. She was still inside me. But she wasn't in charge anymore. Kindness stays. Naivety doesn't. You can love people and still walk away from them. That realization didn't make me colder. It made me whole. Before bed, I stepped onto my balcony. Stars hung low and soft above Missoula. The night wasn't silent. It breathed. It forgave. It waited. I whispered a simple truth into the cool air. I didn't lose a family. I found myself. And for the first time in a very long time, I believed it completely. Then I walked inside, shut the door gently, and left the past on the other side. Not out of anger. Out of freedom.